Uh, Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is Smarter Marketing with AI, a hospitality guide to social, email, and website content. I am Lillian Ruby with the Lake County Economic Development Corporation. The Lake EDC is a nonprofit organization and affiliate of the Small Business Development Center Network. Our goal is to help strengthen the economy in Lake County. We do this by providing services to help businesses grow and thrive, such as this free webinar today. We also offer free one-on-one business advising with knowledgeable business advisors to guide you on your business path. So today we have partnered with Ramin Ramharmozi to provide today's webinar to help teach you how to market your hospitality business using the AI tools available to your business. Ramin is an e-commerce and digital marketing strategist with over 25 years of experience helping entrepreneurs launch, operate, and grow successful online businesses. He's also a certified AI instructor and dedicated mentor, and deeply committed to empowering emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs. His background includes managing online retail operations, developing innovative e-commerce software solutions, and providing strategic consulting to companies across a wide range of industries. So for a few housekeeping items, you're automatically muted as an attendee, so please use the Q&A for any questions and we will make sure they are addressed live. This is being recorded, so you will receive a recording of today's webinar and also a copy of Ramin's slide presentation after today. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and I will pass this off to you, Ramin.
Thank you very much, Lillian. And thank you very much. You did a great job on my name. We were just chuckling ahead of this presentation that, will my name, it's not an easy name. I completely understand it, but thank you. And again, my name is Ramin. Great to be here. I love this topic of AI. I talk a lot about it, teach a lot on the topic. I actually just got back from Orlando, Florida, that ASBDC, the national organization for all of the SBDCs around the country. And we did a train-the-trainer on AI, teaching other advisors how to get better and smarter about using their AI. And everybody is all in, but I completely understand there are definitely some people who, from time to time, it's scary. It's something new. It's something different out there, but it is a game changer. And we'll talk about that game-changing part of it. It is probably now the right time to embrace it. If you haven't embraced it already, hopefully maybe after this presentation or maybe this presentation, some YouTube videos, you really start to get in there and embrace it because it can help you go faster and faster. And I will tell you that just, touching on this, on the hospitality side, I am also in the hospitality business. As a result of my wife, we have 5 different short-term rentals that we operate. And, she is a prime example of somebody who is using AI regularly in everything. And if you're using the Airbnb platform, AI is built in for customer responses and things like that. But here today, we're talking about marketing, right? How to use it, how to be a smarter marketer, how to leverage AI. And also in everything that I do, I use AI quite a bit, right? I'm always, checking on my work, updating content, doing things like that. And in my e-commerce business, I'm pumping out, and it's a lot of work to get content out the door. So hopefully you leave today with an understanding of how to work smarter in this AI-driven world. So again, just real quickly, that's me. You don't need to. Lillian did a fantastic job of introducing me. If you want to connect with me at ecomrevolution.co, that's where I have a free community where you can learn more about it. And I talk a lot about AI, and I bring a lot of guests onto my podcast to talk about AI because, again, it is that place where, we can't ignore it, right? We have to dive into it. So embrace it, right? So today, we're going to dive into those practical AI tools. I'm going to show you prompts. We're going to actually do some demos towards the end of this presentation, actually seeing these prompts in action. Every prompt that I am going to show you, I will tell you that, these days when I do my prompts, and maybe this is something that can dispel some of the fears and, oh boy, this is so much to learn. And how do I write the prompt properly? I generally have conversations with my AI, whether it be Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity, number of different tools. You'll hear me talk about all of them, and we will go and see them and test all of them later on in the presentation. But I don't really get into that world of very, formalized prompts. Now, what I do is I will have a conversation, sometimes even on my phone, talking into to ChatGPT as an example, and then I will ask it to create a formal prompt for me, because formal prompts still do work really well. It's a structured way. I mean, think of it this way: is that if you had an employee or you had a contractor that you were hiring and they were going to do some work for you, you wouldn't give, a set of instructions in a very relaxed, I was thinking maybe you try this and you do this, and maybe you go over here and you plug this in, you copy and paste. No, you would give them very specific, maybe even an SOP, right? So that's where the prompting comes in. So I want to kind of dispel that fear, but a lot of it comes from our mind, right? We think about what we want to say, and then we can tell it and it can put it together. So my goal is to give you practical AI tools that will help transform the market for hospitality business. All of you are coming here, whether you're in the restaurant business or you're a short-term rental, vacation rental side of things, anything you are that requires hospitality, you are in a world where you are creating content, right? Regularly, whether it's for your website, social media, wherever it is. It's a lot of work, and that's our goal, is to give you some rules and things to do. So who is this for? This is for anybody who has a restaurant, a vacation rental, hotel, right? Looking to streamline their marketing efforts. Again, I will say this, that I spend so much time in my own business creating content, whether it's creating the podcast, and then from the podcast doing social clips, and then writing, my weekly newsletter, which I've gotten behind on a little bit. It is a lot of effort to put this in play. Almost in some ways, I think of all of us as media companies, right? A media company has, sometimes a pillar of content, right? They make a movie and then they turn that movie into, a Broadway show, or they take that, Broadway show and they make a mini series out of it. And there's all these different ways. And in many ways, we want to operate like that. We want to think of, because media is what we have to do, right? We have to create all of this, okay? And you'll walk away with AI prompts. Again, we'll share this entire presentation with you. I will also copy and paste as I go along the prompts. So if you want to do it on your own while you're listening to me, though I would say maybe listen, and then you can practice afterwards. And again, they are example prompts. And I will tell you this, that, we did at this ASBDC, I found it very interesting. And this is something that, a question that comes up a lot is, hey, Ramin, when you put in a prompt, is there a chance that people are going to get the same pieces of information? And the answer is no. And I literally saw it firsthand at the conference that I just got back from. There were 150 people in our room, okay? And we had two separate rooms, 150 people. And we used the same presentation deck, the same prompts were used. We did some use cases, and people were copying and pasting the same prompt, and nobody in the room got the same information. So know that what you are going to get is going to be very different, right? Marketing strategies, I'm going to talk about those tailored. And, I'm going to dive in when we talk about email marketing as an example. I'm going to talk about email marketing, not just the AI side of it, but really what is email marketing and how do we do it correctly? Okay. So the new reality of hospitality marketing, as we said, it is not a place where, we can sit on the sidelines anymore and not create content, right? We have to constantly be creating content. I see how much content my wife has to create on a daily basis. She's now leading to me and asking more and more from my assistants in helping with that content, whether it be email marketing content, whether it be social content, hiring, influencers, and those influencers are probably using AI to do a lot of what they do. But it is the new reality of hospitality marketing, right? The marketing juggling act that we go through. We're throwing everything up in the air, right? Social media, daily posts, stories, engagement, hashtag research, right? Photo editing, which is absolutely amazing these days. I don't know if you guys have tried platforms like Nano Banana from Google, amazing platform, or Midjourney, And I'm gonna throw a lot of names out. So maybe on the recording, you can go back and listen to it. If these are platforms that you have not played with, I will take a look. Even ChatGPT and Gemini, which Nano Banana is built into Gemini. Gemini is the platform put out by Google, the AI platform. These all have capabilities of creating, amazing photos. So from the social media, the email marketing side, building those sequences. We'll talk about what those mean in a few minutes. Those promotional campaigns that you should be sending generally once, a couple times, per month, at least minimum. Segmenting, how do you segment your audience? Well, if somebody is staying, like we segment in our short-term rental business, we segment by property. Okay, that's a very simple way to segment. People who stayed at this property are in a segment. A segment's a bucket, right? So doing the segmentation, but having AI help you do that, and the analytics. And then let's talk about a website. Wow. If you are operating your own website, which you should definitely be doing, even if you are a short-term rental business heavily, reliant on the Airbnbs and the VRBOs of the world, you should definitely be, have a website, where you're creating content and the blog posts and optimizing for search engine optimization and booking integration. And I will tell you this, that, the clients that I work with on the AI side of things and e-commerce, that's a lot of my advisory business that I do. They are relying now on AI to help them, create a search engine optimization plan. Sometimes I look and say, wow, okay, that's something I was helping them with, and they're doing it on their own. And I'm okay with that, because that is called evolution, right? We are evolving constantly and working these things in there. So website management, review management, how important are reviews? Incredibly important, right? Response monitoring, reputation management, right? Generally, if you're a small business, you're keeping pretty close tabs on your reviews. Maybe you get a Google review, or maybe you're getting a review on Airbnb, or maybe your restaurant just got a review on Yelp or something along those lines. You want to monitor it, but if you're doing great and you're successful, you're probably getting a lot of reviews coming in. So you have to manage it, being able to pull that data in and look at it. And by the way, also, we'll talk about how to look at your competitors' reviews. Okay. They're all out there, right? We want to see what people are saying. And then, we'll talk about your daily operations, right? Inventory, guest services, financial oversight, right? This is a lot of work. I mean, we're looking at 5 components here, right? Running a business while trying to be a marketing department, a social media manager, right? Content creator all at once is basically a media company. That's what it is, right? But the good news is AI is here to help you work smarter, not harder. I know it's a bit of a cliche there, but it is absolutely true. Okay. So, how your guests really find you these days, right? There is a discovery phase. And this actually rings true. A lot of my work is also in the world of e-commerce, but what you guys do is commerce, right? Everything is commerce. There's ultimately an end goal to selling something, right? Selling a meal if you're on the restaurant side. Now that happens offline, or sometimes it happens online, right? If it's a delivery type of situation. Booking, a hotel, booking your short-term rental, that's all commerce happening. But it all starts with a discovery phase, whether they're looking on Google Maps or they're browsing social media, Instagram locations, right? They're looking at tags, stories out there, Facebook event pages and recommendation, TikTok, right? And reels and showcase experiences. That is all part of the discovery. And what I'm trying to do here is set the stage for how people find you, and then how we can plug AI into making our work easier to identify those areas, right? And then we move into the decision phase, right? The reviews on Google and Yelp and TripAdvisor, they drive trust, right? Email campaigns that you send out for special offers and packages, right? Website content that showcases authenticity, social proof, right? Through those user-generated content that's going out there. It's discovery and decision. But again, back to how much work has to be put in there. And a little tip down at the bottom, tell you the email, the return on investment, just simply on the email marketing side. For every dollar you spend on email marketing and hospitality season, average of $36 to $53 in return, right? So if you're ignoring email because it's just too much work, you're saying, Ramin, I just can't keep up with this. This is just, I'm just trying to keep up with social media. How do you want me to do email marketing now on top of it? Well, yes, because all of these platforms, everything we do in marketing has a return on investment, sometimes not immediately. But if you're sending out emails on a regular basis, you're helping that decision phase, right? You're making that decision phase happen. You're making that person go from discovery to decision to ultimately purchase, right? So you've got an advantage, right, in Lake County. You've got a beautiful, beautiful area, right? And taking advantage of the highlights in there, right? Clear Lake Beauty, Red Hills. I mean, all of these places, you must always look around your environment. And I'll give you another example, the Airbnbs that we operate, my wife and I operate, and I'll give her all the credit in the world. She runs that side of the business so well. Always looking to your environment, right? If you're in a dark sky area, right, you've got the heavens to, work in your advantage, right? Bringing in content around you into the mix. And I will tell you that AI knows all of this, right? It knows everything about Lake County. It knows everything about every part of Lake County. It is all within its database, right? But also all throughout the web. And it is constantly scraping the web and bringing that information back in. So if you are stuck with content and I just can't come up with a good angle for my next 5 social media posts, well, why don't you tap into the environment around you? It's amazing, right? Pulling people in with the environment is a great thing. And again, AI absolutely knows this, and you want to tap into it and pull that information and work that in to whatever piece of content you're doing, whether it's email or a blog or you're sending out social media posts, right? So why AI is a game changer for hospitality, and I'll just say for any business. Before we dive into the why behind this, is that there's fear out there, and I completely understand it, and I do see it. I've got clients who are very into AI, and they're using it every single day, all day long, for every piece of marketing that they're doing or operations in their business and things like that. But I do have clients who've resisted and are fearful of getting on. And I completely understand that. When something new happens, take us back to the last great piece of technology that came out, which was the mobile phone, right? The iPhone. This adoption takes time. Okay, now adoption has happened very quickly with generative AI. Okay, and that's what ChatGPT is. That's what Claude is, Perplexity, all of these where you're chatting back and forth. AI itself has been around for a long time. But AI is in a generative form has really just happened November 30th, 2022 is when ChatGPT launched. And there were early adopters, but adoption for AI has been faster than any other technology, faster than the mobile phone adoption, faster than social media adoption, faster than adoption of the internet. Believe it or not, I still have people who are kind of just coming online, really using the internet heavily. But at the end of the day, embracing it is not a bad thing. Yes. Are you worried maybe that your data is going to be compromised? Well, there are techniques, turning off the sharing capabilities within ChatGPT. And I'll show you that in this presentation really quickly, where you can go and turn that off. Okay. I'm not asking you to upload tax records. Definitely, what we're talking about putting in is essentially generalized information. It's nothing that's going to hold anybody to you and be able to identify you in any particular way. Now, listen, you do a Google search, it's being tracked, right? Everything really out there at the end of the day is being tracked. So I do understand the hesitation, but I will say that it's time to, if you're not there yet, you need to be there soon, because it's not that AI is taking jobs away. It's really, at the end of the day, it's somebody else who knows AI better is essentially coming for your quote unquote job or your business, right? They are figuring out how to do it smarter. And I want you all who are here today to embrace, say that you're going to practice it. You're going to bring it into the mix. You're going to start using it more often to really get the most out of it to help your business. Okay. So, but what does it do really at the end of the day? We understand, the technical, we put in a prompt, we get an answer back. Okay. But it saves time, right? Think about how much time, all the things that I just mentioned, overview of the things I mentioned, email marketing, social media, website blog content, building the emails for both the automation and the campaigns, all of that, and how much work that is. AI will save you time, right? Transform a 2-hour content creation session into 20 minutes. My newsletters that I write, used to take me, it would take me a couple of hours, back and forth. I'd sometimes even send it over to somebody to clean it up and edit it. I never felt super confident in my, long form writing. Wanted to make sure my sentences didn't ramble on and things like that. I've got my newsletters down, and I will tell you that while I use AI heavily, you're going to hear a term that I use a lot. It's called human in the loop. We cannot ever stop being the human in the loop. The human in the loop is you. It's me, right? We need to be the human in the loop with all of this content that we're creating, because otherwise we're just copying and pasting. And that doesn't do us any good, right? Anybody can copy and paste. I sometimes, in my process of creating content, I'm in there for an hour, back and forth, on a long form content. Sometimes, I'm tweaking and adjusting it. Then I'll put it all into my newsletter format. I'm like, you know what? I'm not crazy about that sentence now that I see it, in its true form. Back to ChatGPT or Claude, wherever I started the conversation. All right, listen, we got to work on this section. So think of it as your partner to help you save time. Okay. It creates consistency, right? Maintains your brand voice. Now, if you're new to ChatGPT or to Claude or whichever tool you decide to use, it's going to take a little while for it to get to know you and your business. Now, you can fast track that by obviously, there's a section, again, I'll show you in the settings, where you can put in the information, if you haven't done so already, about your business, your tone, things like that. Like don't use emojis, or, if you don't like emojis, you tell it not to use emojis. It won't use emojis. Okay. But getting that brand voice also requires you to get it to understand. So sometimes the exercise I like to work on is working with it to identify, if you haven't done so already, or if you have identified who your ideal client profile is. Okay. We call it an ICP. In the world of e-commerce, we call it buyer persona. Your ICP should be updated into whatever AI tool you're doing in there. So again, if you haven't created an ICP, an ideal client profile is made up of, the demographics and the psychographic information of your ideal client. And you may have, a couple of different ideal clients in there, but you want to make sure that the AI tool knows that. Okay. Once it knows that, it now remembers that. And ChatGPT has been remembering for a while now. Claude has just added in what they call saved memory. So now it better understands and can remember past conversations where it can pull it into a current conversation. But that is very important. And also maybe building your brand guidelines inside of AI is very important. So if you have very specific colors, right? You have very specific tone, these types of things, work it out in a chat. In fact, I would probably create a chat called, branding, your branding. And in there, I would either upload my ideal client profile. You can upload, documents, you can Google Docs, you can copy and paste text. I would also then communicate with it, upload the logo and actually tell it to tell you what the hex colors are. Hex colors are the individual colors used in a logo. Tell it, say, I need to know what my hex colors are. Could you identify them? You may already know what they are, but it's a nice way of challenging ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity to tell you exactly what it is. So oh, great, it knows, it's perfect. Now, going forward, you create that brand consistency, right? Everything you do going forward will have your brand brought into, and mention it. Okay. When you're writing a prompt, say, we must make sure that this email, it stays consistent with our brand. Okay. Refer to the brand guidelines that we created. You don't need to copy and paste any of that information. It's in there already. Okay. It enables personalization, right? The advantage to you is it also enables personalization, right? We talked about segmenting an audience, right? Putting people into buckets, right? Messages for local versus tourist, right? When you're writing content, if you tell ChatGPT that, listen, I've got a client, and this is an actual true story. We've got a client that has a biking business, and in the biking business, he's got, local audience that comes in for certain tours. And then he's got we'll call them, short-term rental, people coming on vacation in a particular area, not in your area, in a completely different part of California. And he has to personalize. So when he is talking to ChatGPT, we're always referencing, hey, this is for the tourists that are coming in. This is for the local audience, making sure then ChatGPT understands that, because we've already built that whole ideal client profile directly into the AI. Okay. And what it excels at in marketing. And if you haven't used it already, drafting content, right? This is where we're going to get into generating social media captions, right? Subject lines. This is what I use it for all the time. I don't have the time to write captions. So for my video clips, for my podcast, right? So I use AI to generate those clips, and I've got to edit them sometimes because they don't come out perfect and it misses a few things here and there. But from there, I have it generate in the tool that I use, and I don't use ChatGPT. I use a program called Riverside for this. Riverside is a recording and has a whole AI suite built into it, but is primarily for podcasters. So if you're planning on doing a podcast, pay attention, I guess, to this part of the presentation. That I use it then once the video clip is in there. I just ask AI directly in Riverside, and I say, generate an Instagram caption for me, generate a YouTube short caption for me. Also, I need a title for YouTube shorts. Generate a Facebook caption for me for this reel. And then I take that information and I upload it to a platform that I use called later.com. There's a number of tools out there. Hopper HQ, Metricool. These are all social media management platforms where we push the content up. You don't need those because you can go directly to social media as well. I just put up a lot of content. So I tend to I need some, organization, if you will. So drafting that content, right? Ideate campaigns, right? Brainstorming. I use it to brainstorm. I have use a program called Basecamp, an old school, one of the things that has zero AI in it, which is perfectly fine for a project management tool. But I go into ChatGPT when I'm struggling with ideas for my next, 4 or 5 newsletters. I'm in there back and forth, it knows what I talked about previously. It knows what I've created previously on the newsletter side of things. So it doesn't ever repeat anything. And I keep it in the same, I have a brainstorming project. Okay. So in the brainstorming project, there's a number of different brainstorms, one for newsletters, one for social media content. And again, I'll show you, kind of what a project looks like in a bit. But I just ideate back and forth to get ideas. That's just the idea phase. And then ideas turn into outlines, and outlines, then get, I add in a title. And from the title, I'll probably go and do some SEO research. I don't do my SEO research inside of any of the AI tools because I found that it doesn't have a great understanding of current, because it is behind a little bit, okay? And then a lot of the SEO tools that are available out there, they're closed. So it can't just jump into a paid SEO tool to find out search volume or, competition levels or keywords or things like that. But anyway, nonetheless, use it to ideate, right? And repurposing assets. We're gonna do a whole demo on taking one thing and turning it into many. And this is where, again, as a media company, when you think of yourself as not just a hospitality company, but a media-focused hospitality company, you're going to want to repurpose content. You're going to want to take that one pillar piece of content and turn it into many things. And then the automated workflows. And then, hey, even responding to customers. I consider that marketing. Yes, is technically customer service, but responding has a marketing element. How you respond, right? Guest inquiries. And I know, if you're in the short-term rental or the vacation business and you're using a platform like Airbnb or VRBO, there is, there is AI built into that, but some of you may not be, and some of you may be doing it externally. So, using AI to build you some canned responses. Okay. Building out an FAQ section. By the way, did you know that these days, and while we're not here to talk about search engine optimization necessarily and generative or AEO, answer engine optimization is what people are, you, me, other people are going to AI tools to ask questions. Those questions then are leading to websites and links and things like that. So what these answer engines like ChatGPT is considered an answer engine. Google AI Mode is considered an answer engine. Claude is an answer engine. People are asking questions. So back to, creating content for your website. One little pro tip there is to create FAQs. If you don't have an FAQ on your website, build one today and use AI to help you build it. Like, tell me all the questions that people may be asking around my business. Now, some of it mean, again, it's going to know your business as a result of you communicating with it, but it's not going to know maybe exact little details and nuances, your hours, or maybe it will, because you're going to tell it to go take a look at your Google business profile. And from there, it now understands your hours of operations and some of the other technical elements of your business. And it can now help you build FAQs, frequently asked questions. Getting those frequently asked questions on your site is imperative these days, because you want to start to be found through the answer engines. I heard a stat the other day. I was interviewing a gentleman for my podcast. He does something called agentic commerce. He's big on, the movement towards agent-based, and we will talk about agents shortly, agent-based shopping, okay? Like, you will have an agent one day, soon, within a few months. It's already there on ChatGPT, that you will command it to go do things for you. And in his case was to go and shop, right? But I asked him a very specific question, and this relates to just commerce in general. I asked him, how many people are actually using AI to find and buy products? So there are 800 million people using ChatGPT, of which half of those people are using it to find and buy products. This doesn't negate the fact that people still use Google. Absolutely, 100%. Google is very dominant and strong, the old school Google. But search in general is making a big change. I just want to make sure you know that, give you a little pro tip that, get some FAQs on your website. Definitely very important. Okay. All right. So essential AI guardrails, right? Accuracy checks. You want to be sure, and this is more of me telling you, you want to be careful, right? Human in the loop. Don't just go and copy and paste information. Don't just put in a prompt and be done with it and just take it and go. Be active, be part of it. Again, I mentioned that, I'm in there sometimes, an hour back and forth. I go back in again. I keep all my chats, and I go back to existing chats and continue the conversation. But I always want to check and verify facts and dates and claims before publishing. It gets it wrong, okay? The term is called hallucination. You've probably heard that term before, and it does hallucinate a lot less than it used to, okay? But it still does happen, okay? And I've witnessed it, definitely not as much as I used to, but I've witnessed it and I've called it out. And, it's very polite, tends to say, yes, good catch, Ramin, good catch. It messed up and it knows it did, but it has no personality. So it's just very matter of fact about it. So fact check everything, right? Make sure, again, train the AI with examples of existing content that you like. I follow a gentleman out there on social media. I really love the way he writes. Okay. He's in a totally different industry than I'm in, but I really love the way he writes. And I like, listen, it's a compliment, that I'm not looking to knock off his writing, but I like the style and I want my style to be similar to his style. Okay. It's short, it's punchy, it's to the point. Definitely am not, again, so I take a link. I'm like, I want to follow this type of format when I write my newsletters. And it understands his writing. It knows his writing because he's out there regularly. And again, I'm very, very specific with him. Like, I'm not looking to copy his style. I want to incorporate his style into my style. I already have a style of writing, but I want to get a little further away from, longer paragraphs and a little more punchy, quick, pieces of content. That's how people read. Okay. And then there's privacy protection. Those are the guardrails, right? Never put in personal guest information, payment details, things like that. You will find in the agent side, if you start using ChatGPT heavily, and everybody, by the way, I think everybody now, even on the free version, gets GPT-5, which is the latest version. I don't think agent is built into the free version. It's only on the pro, and the pro has a limited amount of agents. And then the $300 a month plan that has unlimited agents. It'll actually go and buy something for you. Okay. It will go check out. Okay. It will log into things, but it always asks you if you want to take over and do it yourself. It does it in this live format, okay? But it's very cognizant of asking you first, do you want to take over the chat and put your information in, or do you want to share it in here and I'll put it in? I'm going to err on the side of I'm going to go ahead and put that information in right now. I don't know. I've given it all the parameters not to not to use my information for training purposes and things like that. But this is very new. And I understand, again, the hesitation that may come from this and people, getting a little worried about, putting in that information. Okay. So I just want to also just say again, if you have questions as I go along in here, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. I'm perfectly fine stopping along the way and answering any questions that you have. I'll leave time at the end. Oh, good. Somebody already put a question in. Very good. Karen asks, and Lillian, I'm okay reading these too. It's totally fine. I'll just read through them and maybe we'll leave at the end. You can take those questions if you want, or ask me those questions. Karen asks, as a novelist, how can I best use AI to edit and organize an existing manuscript? And is there a concern about putting original proprietary writing on AI and it being shared or copied? So that is something, you have a manuscript, and I don't know if it's already, you've gone through the copyright process, or I'm not sure about that world. It's a little bit different from the world that I'm in, but I would probably, maybe check, something like that, a finished product like that, putting it in there. I may go section by section in there, copying and pasting, areas where you feel you need refinement. Now, it may be challenging, Karen, if it doesn't have the whole picture, right? So that becomes a decision you have to make. And I've been confronted with situations where I wasn't necessarily 100% comfortable putting in a lot of information about a particular area that I was working on. And I found that AI had struggled. It struggled answering questions. It struggled getting the information right because it didn't have the full picture. So I had to make a choice. I was either disband and not use it for this particular exercise that I was going through, or give it all the information I wanted to give it in order for it to make the best decision. I've got to leave that up to you because we are in uncharted territory. Okay. While people are definitely, people are reserved. There's a lot of people who are not. They're throwing everything in there. I do even know people who've gone online and talked about them putting their tax returns. And I'm not telling you to do that. Okay. I'm saying be cautious. I would not put in that kind of information, but they're doing things like that because they're all in, right? They maybe redact their sensitive, social security number or EIN number or something like that, redacting that information and trying to get the most out of AI. I'm not there. Okay. I'm there with it, helping me brainstorm, helping me create this content that we're talking about today. Being the human in the loop, right? Getting it, making sure it understands everything about my brand. But I'm not putting in my tax returns. And I don't know if I had a manuscript, if I would put the whole thing in there. That would be something you need to make a decision on. But if you did go that route, it would have the full picture. But I do know people who are writing books directly in AI, right? Maybe not so long, 150 to 200 word book, 200 words, 200 pages. But that's a decision you'd have to make because you want to be cautious. We don't know where all of this is going. I did read that Google is coming out. It's called forget something Gemini. They have Gemini but they're working on privacy because they are trying to get business from medical and health, the healthcare world. And that area is definitely very sensitive to putting any kind of, so they're working on this area of AI where people feel more comfortable putting in that data, but it's not completely out there yet. So Diana says, I use it for writing books, but to give me prompts and organize ideas, and it's wonderful. So there you go. So Diana's using it to write books, and I know a lot of people who are doing, maybe that shorter form book style, maybe not, something that is, 500 pages in there, though. I don't know. I mean, we're getting there to that place where it's being used for so much in there. So thank you for sharing that, Diana. It's great. Maybe something for Karen to consider as she works on making her decision. Okay. All right. Start getting into the meat of things. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share prompts with you and make sure we're good on time here. I'm going to share prompts, copy and paste those so you have them. Again, these are example prompts, okay? Make up your own, work off of and riff off of what I create, what I'm providing to you. But then we'll go and do an actual use case towards the end. I didn't want to go back and forth in the presentation because I thought that would get a little, a little chaotic. But let's talk about the concepts here, okay, and how to do these things. And then we'll go and actually do them together. So one area I love to do is competitor and market insights with ChatGPT agents, okay? I now have a person, quote unquote, who can go and do the research for me, okay? I want to keep tabs on competitors. I'm sure you all maybe want to keep tabs on your competitors. You may all be friends with your competitors, right? In your area, it's a smaller, tight-knit area, and you may know everybody, and maybe you see them at local events and things like that. But maybe you also want to keep track of, what kind of content are they putting up? What's their social media content look like? But you don't have the time to go and do it. And this is where AI helps you. And this is where the agent functionality will help you. And again, the agent functionality is not available on the free plan at this moment. I don't know if they'll release it at some point, but it is on the $20 a month version. Okay. So first, let's talk about why competitor monitoring matters. Okay. You're in the hospitality industry. It's competitive. There's a lot of, I know that the Airbnbs that we have in some of the areas that we have them in are highly competitive. Okay. There are people, tooth and nail to try to get, that booking. So we want to know what they're doing on their website. So setting out an agent to help us do that is incredibly valuable, right? What to track? We want to maybe track the social media posting and the frequency and the engagement rates. That information is all out there. Okay. How about if ChatGPT could bring that information back to you on a weekly basis and show you that your competitor had, 5 posts last week, and here are the engagement rates, and you only had 1. Okay. You think maybe you're going to step your game up? Probably. I'm going to feel a little fear of missing out. I'm going to fear that they're doing a better job. But how would you know unless you sat there and looked at it every single day on your own, which really I hope you have better things to do. But now you have, you can go hire a virtual assistant, or you can have somebody in the marketing department do it, or you can have AI take care of it for you, right? Maybe taking a look at their website and looking at special offers and seasonal packages, letting it know anytime it sees, it goes and checks every week. And every time it sees an update to the website, something new, piece of information, content to provide you with a link to that page and a summary of what it saw. Okay. It's a great test to see if it can capture that information. And I will say that agents is a new thing. Okay. With anything new, there are going to be kinks and it's not going to work beautifully. And I love how, including myself included, I'm getting annoyed with ChatGPT, specifically the other day, that it just wasn't getting. I was asking it to copy blog content from I was transferring one of my sites to a new platform. And I instructed the agent to go pick up that blog content in very specific fields that I had to go pick up and then drop it into the back end of a new platform. So I had to log into it. And it was getting it for a while, and then it started getting hiccups and it wasn't getting frustrated. The fact, why I'm getting frustrated at something that is so incredible, like it's doing this work. Wow. So new blog content and website updates, asking it to do that. Having it go and sign you up for their emails. You give it an email address and you tell it to go to that site when it sees a pop-up to put in your email address and hit submit so you can get copies of their emails. Okay. Local news and mentions and partnerships, like looking for all of that information, finding partners in the area that you could partner up with. Incredible for the hospitality business, right? So this is what a competitor analysis can look like. Competitor analysis prompt can look like. I'm going to go, oops. Sorry about that. I'm going to copy that. Hopefully this comes through. There we go. And I will paste it in there again. You'll have a copy of this in PDF format, so you can just take it from there, do it on your own. When you get this here, I'll make sure I put it in the right place. Listen, panelists. Oh, I guess I don't have access. I'm going to have to, Lillian, I'm going to post it to you because I don't have access to everyone in my list unless you can make that available, but I'll post it in there and you can copy and paste it to everybody, or you can just enable that and I'll take it from there. So you're a hospitality marketing analyst. Again, this is where we're telling it what it is. Okay. And don't fear, okay, about, being so perfect on your prompts. have a conversation with ChatGPT about what you're trying to accomplish here, and then have it work with you to create the right prompt. Okay, putting it into prompt format, and I put air quotes around that because prompting is, prompt engineering, they call it. Okay, review the Instagram accounts of these competitors. Put in the link to their Instagram accounts. Okay, Instagram.com/ whatever it is. Come back and give me information, right? Visit their websites, insert the website in there, and summarize any new blog posts. Maybe give them a direct link to the blog landing page, right? Use the following email to sign up for their newsletters, okay? Instead of you having to go do it, right? If you identified, 3 or 4 competitors, you could go do it yourself, or you could have ChatGPT do it. Provide a digest of their promotions, themes, visuals, call to actions that they're really, trying to incorporate in their business on a weekly basis. Suggest 3 fresh content ideas that my restaurant, inn, vacation rental, whatever your business is, could post this week to stand out based on everything you've seen. Now, listen, there's the adage of there's really no new ideas out there. I don't necessarily believe that 100%, but in this case, listen, we're working off of existing. If they're smart, they're looking at your business in their competitor analysis, and they're coming up with good ideas. They may have written a really good post, and I'm not suggesting you go and copy any of this information, but you could be inspired with some fresh ideas based on what they're doing. Okay, so the single prompt allows you to create personal marketing intelligence. Like you have a marketing, analyst there for you, right? Copy it exactly as it is. You can adjust it. Maybe that competitor only has an Instagram account, or, maybe you go send them out to Airbnb to take a look at their front end Airbnb listing. Okay. And give you ideas, and give you analysis. I know my wife does that. She does analysis on her competitors, looking and seeing, like what does she, what does ChatGPT think is working and not working? Okay, some of this is it, coming to its own conclusions. A human being can do that too, and hopefully we don't put ourselves in this place where we're completely lazy. But it's that back and forth conversation to figure out what the analysis is on the competitor side of things. Okay, so now let's talk about AI for social media. And I do see there's a Q&A. Let me just stop real quickly and see if there's anything here. Karen says, to Karen, this is for Karen. So Karen, there's a message from Diana in there. Take a look at what she has to say. And she's got some good information there on there. A lot of market research, a lot of marketing around the book. Sounds like, Diana, are you using AI effectively in your business, which is great. So AI for social media content. This is probably the area where your business probably needs the most help. Okay. Social media content, again, is a lot. Let's say you go do that competitor analysis and you find out, oh my gosh, my competition, they're posting twice a day on Instagram. They're using Facebook as well. They're just all over the place. They're active. And I'm doing one a week, and I got to step my game up. Okay. Because that will happen too, by the way. We're all in business to succeed, right? To grow a business and, maybe to pass it down, pass it to the next generation, or maybe ultimately sell it, or maybe simply to have a nice stream of income, right? Whether it's a restaurant, we may love and be passionate about what we're doing, or, our vacation rental, but we're still in business, right? And we're going to get to that place when we see competition doing things, we're going to want to do it ourselves. So getting AI to help you with that social media content is imperative, right? Getting that user-generated content, right? Social media that actually works, right? User-generated content, guest photos and videos. And again, being conscious of privacy. We're not putting in people's full names, and we're not going to use images, pictures of them if they've not agreed to have pictures of themselves included in there. Simply taking their review and working it into social media to help generate content ideas. Okay. Maybe some behind the scenes, right? Maybe you're filming yourself, in the back, the restaurant, or maybe, you've developed a plan of how you do things, and you simply are talking into ChatGPT and telling it, hey, this is what we do in the back of the house. This is how we, prepare each night for dinner and turn this into some very compelling social media posts that I can use. Okay. Events and community, right? Live music nights and wine tastings. Maybe you've worked with ChatGPT to come up with an actual plan for the next, 3 months of events that you're going to have, including through the holidays. You've worked on that. So now you're going to work with ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or whichever platform you like. Most likely it's probably ChatGPT is the top of the list to help create social media posts once you have created that event calendar or that community calendar, whichever one you're doing, whichever it is, again, in the same stream, in the same chat stream, you want to continue to not only build the calendar, but also have it build the social media around the calendar. Okay? Local scenery, your location is your competitive advantage. Play it up. Make sure, take sunrise shots and seasonal changes and things like that, and have a bank of photos and then load those photos in. Simply loading a photo, by the way, that photo is an example. ChatGPT can read that photo. It understands what that photo is. So literally put the photo in and command it to generate a social media post off of that picture. That's how easy it can be for you to create all of this content. I would go snap, 20, 30 different pictures, of the property, of all these different things, and upload it and have it, first explain to you what the picture is, so make sure it understands fully, and then have it develop social media content around that, right? And we know that consistency, right, beats virality, okay? Everybody's looking to go viral. I'm going to get that post and I'm going to go viral. That's not how the social media game is played. It's about consistency. The algorithms inside of Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, they're all geared to you being consistent. So you will beat your competitor out. If your competitor is like shooting, trying to swing for the fences, as they say, to get that amazing social media post, but they're only doing one. If you stay consistent, and by the way, consistent doesn't mean every day. Consistent means just sticking to a plan. So maybe you decide you're going to do it a couple times, a week or 3 times a week, but you stay consistent. You do it 3 times every single week regularly. So build that calendar with AI to do that. All right. So let's look at a 14-day social media content generator. I'm going to go ahead and copy this real quickly and put this into the chat. Okay. I'm going to send it. There we go. Okay. And perfect. So act as a social media manager. Again, always set the stage for what you want it to be. Okay. In this case, your social media manager for a Lake County, and you don't have to say, this is, me writing this here. You can specifically say your business. Okay. At this point, hopefully it knows everything about your business because you've used it again to build your, ideal client profile. You've put in your branding information. It knows everything about you. Okay. So create a 14-day content plan for Facebook and Instagram with post ideas, captions, hashtags, simple photo, video, shot ideas. Again, you can have it generate images for you. Absolutely. They come out pretty good. Like this is a, it's pretty good. This image, not the best in the world, but that's AI driven, not out of ChatGPT. I do find that ChatGPT and images are good. I actually think Gemini does a very good job on images and it's very fast. Okay. So having it do that, but if you don't like the social media images, then you're going to upload the images that you have and tell it to build content around these images. Okay. So highlight local attractions like Clear Lake, whatever is going on in your area, make sure you tell it. And by the way, it has access to everything being posted out there, including the EDC website, the Lake County tourism website. All of this information is available to the AI tool, so it can go and scrape that and bring it back and see that, oh yeah, these events are happening. Let me create some social media posts, but that's you directing it and telling it, search the web, okay? If you want it to go search the web, tell it to search the web. Right. You can also use a setting in there, a drop down. You can do that as well, but sometimes simply just telling it to search the web. One little pro tip also is to ask it to cite its sources. If you use a tool like Perplexity, okay, .ai, Perplexity is more of a search engine with AI built into it, it always cites your sources. But ChatGPT will cite sources. And the reason I'm asking you when you ask it, the reason I'm asking you to do that is that you want to make sure the information that it's bringing back is correct. Okay. So you can spot check, you can click on those sources and you can see where it got that information to make sure that it didn't hallucinate. Okay. So these prompts generate 2 weeks of ready to use content ideas. But as I've said before, I don't want you to just copy and paste. I want you to iterate. I want you to go back and forth. I want you to make sure that it's in your voice, make sure that it is consistent with your brand before you extract it and put it into whatever social media management tool or directly into Instagram or directly in there. Now, when it comes to Reels, okay, it's obviously not going to create, well, you can create videos. You can create 30-second, I think it's, 8 to 10 second videos inside of Gemini using Google VO3. It's all kind of built in there. So it's only 8 seconds and it's not going to be of your location, okay? So I would say that in that case, if you're going to do a reel, what you can ask ChatGPT to do is help you create a loose script or an outline of how that reel is going to be, because then you can follow that outline and actually film what you want to film on your phone and use it for your reel. Okay. So in that case, we're not there yet where it's, at some point, maybe we'll be where you just open ChatGPT and you start filming and boom, 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 it just takes care of it, edits the whole thing and puts it all together. Yeah, that could happen very soon. Everything that I'm hearing is that by this time next year, we have something in the neighborhood of what they call artificial general intelligence, where it is as smart as a human being and able to do things that human beings can do. Okay. I don't know what that world looks like yet. We're all, guessing here. Okay. Which then brings us back to don't wait too long to get on board with AI, right? So AI understands local context, will weave in seasonal elements, local attractions, hospitality. See how much you can create. You can literally have 14 days worth of content. And again, I use a tool called later.com. Others may use Metricool, and that's where you can actually put those that social media content in there and let it automatically go out on at a specific day and time, so it could drip out during the rest of during the week. And now you're doing better than your competition, right? You're being consistent. Okay. All right. Moving on, turning your reviews into reputation content. Okay. Reputation content is imperative in this business, right? We cannot be, we live and die by reviews. Okay. I see the stress on my wife's, on her face when, there is a problem that pops up at one of the short-term rentals, right? To make sure she jumps on it quickly and takes care of it. It's imperative. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but turning those reviews and hopefully those 5-star reviews into that reputation and content becomes a game changer, right? Now, all of a sudden, we've got content from the reviews, right? They're not just reviews out there, which are incredibly important, as we just said, but they're reviews that can be now turned into content. So take this 5-star guest review, put a link to it, or put the actual copy and paste review, and repurpose it into a blog snippet of 150 to 200 words, okay? An Instagram carousel outline, right? Give me slide ideas. And you could, again, use AI to generate those slides. Or if you have visuals and images of your property or of the food or whatever your business is in the hospitality business, you bring that into the mix, right? Update a Google business profile. Okay. By the way, if you use Agent, it will go log in, it'll ask you if you want to take over, but it can log into the back end of Google Business Profile and update that information for you. A warm owner reply, right? In a friendly local voice, right? Maybe you're going to get some canned responses that you want to make available to your customer. Okay. And you're going to have it write this based on the review, right? And incorporate the actual review in the response from the owner. Nothing like a wonderful email from the owner, but also has a review baked in, and it, is maybe the owner's summary of the review. And why does this work, right? Guest language is more trusted than marketing copy. Okay? Reviews highlight benefits you might overlook, right? You might miss something, right? Repurposing maximizes each review. So if you're getting a lot of reviews, you can turn that review not only into just review gold, but content gold, right? And a little bonus, an SEO bonus here, right? Search engine optimization, SEO. Review content naturally, review content naturally includes location-based keywords, guest experiences, terms that improve your search ranking. So let those stay in there. Okay. Let the local words stay in there. Oh, we had such a great time at this Clear Lake, Airbnb, whatever it is, wherever your property is, or at the specific restaurant, in Clear Lake, let that stay in there. Okay. That's very important for the SEO. So now let's move on to email marketing. We talked at the beginning about how important email marketing is. For every dollar spent, you're generating somewhere in the neighborhood of $36 to $58 back in return, an amazing return on investment. It is the free version, social media is free too, but this is what we call owned marketing. So in general, if you are not leveraging email marketing, you need to, okay? If you are simply blasting a list from time to time, that's not that's not modern day email marketing. Modern day email marketing is made up of automations, regular, consistent campaigns. Those are going either to the whole list or to a segmented list. Okay. So again, we said every dollar brings us somewhere between 36 and 53, right? It's 4x more effective than social. You own that customer, or you own that prospect. Okay. Social media, you don't know who they are other than their communication with you. You don't have their email address. The minute you have their email address, then you have somebody that you can nurture into a customer. So social media is great, using AI to build social media content to help drive traffic to the website. But on the website, I would want to see a pop-up, right? I'd want to see some way of getting somebody on the list, incentivize them, do, a free night stay, or enter to win a free night stay, or, enter to win, a dinner for two at the restaurant, or, whatever it is to incentivize people to put their email address in there. Because once we have their email address, then we can send them automated emails. We call it a welcome series. It's an automated sequence of messages that go out, when somebody first gets on the list, and it's generally emails around the brand, the business, building that, nurturing that person eventually into a customer. Okay. Abandoned bookings, right? If you're in the, if you have direct bookings capability on your website, and somebody adds a booking to their cart, and they don't check out and they don't finish the process, then we've got abandoned cart messages that go out, or abandoned booking messages that go out saying, hey, what happened? And if you're using Airbnb, obviously Airbnb has got elements in place. We'll take care of, the email side of things, email automations, but I'm talking about directly on your website. Pre-arrival upsell, right? Offer room upgrades. My wife uses this a lot for people who want early check-in, right? And early check-in is, you can pay for it because we got to get the cleaner there earlier. We've got cleaner's probably going to charge us because we're going to shift things around. So there's got to be a little bit of an upcharge, or there are packages that she sells, local experience packages, and that's done in a pre-arrival upsell. That can be baked into an automated email, but you're going to use AI to build that content, okay, and get it all set up. Now, you're not using AI to send these emails. That's not what the tool is for. We're building AI and we're putting it into an email marketing platform like, MailChimp. Some of you may still use Constant Contact. If you're MailerLite, there's a number of different tools out there that you can use. Obviously, we're just creating this post-stay review request. So what does the prompt then look like? Your email sequence builder, something like this. Write a 3 email sequence for your business, okay? Let me just get this out of the way. Prompting a midweek seasonal package, right? Includes subject line, pretext, preview text. That's the text you see right after somebody putting in their, when you're looking at a Gmail interface, you've got who it came from, and then you've got the pretext or preview text. Copy, body copy, and clear call to action in each email. You literally can build your email top to bottom, whether it's a campaign or it's an automation. And this is on my list right now. This is what I'm going to have to build. I'm building, in the process of building for, our business. Automations are amazing. Okay. They can work great. They work on their own. Once you've set up an automation, there's a trigger that happens, and then the automation just sends out the email based on that trigger. That all can be used building AI. Okay. So you get your prompt in there and ultimately you get the content that you're looking for, iterate, work with it back and forth, and then ultimately pull it in. That saves you time. That saves you from having to hire somebody potentially to build out your email marketing. Now, again, if you're super busy and you don't have the time for this, well, then yeah, you're probably going to go maybe to an agency or you're going to go to a freelancer. They're probably going to be using AI to help build your content. So may as well learn it yourself and see if you can make the time to do it yourself, save money, cut costs, keep it, in line with your brand and get it out faster. Okay. All right. This is my favorite part, repurposing with pillar content. Okay. Pillar content is that one thing. There's that one important, and it could be anything, right? It could be a blog. It could be a video that you created. My pillar content in my business, not the short-term rental, but my e-commerce community business, the e-commerce revolution, is my podcast. That's my primary pillar content. Once in a while, my newsletter will also be a pillar content, but it's that one thing that you kind of work pretty hard on. And it took a long time to put out there. And you're going to take it and you're going to turn it into a bunch of other things. And why are you going to do that? Well, you're a media company. And media companies operate like that. They take one thing and they turn it into many different things. And that's because there's no need to reinvent the wheel constantly. You've got the idea already, the concept already. But, some people like to read instead of watching the video. Some people like to consume it as a lesson instead of watching all the podcasts. I have something like, I don't know, what are we up to? Like 100 podcasts now? I forget exactly how many we've done. But I can feed all the transcripts from every single podcast in there and I can have it build lessons for me, right? That I can put up and sell potentially even, right? All of the wisdom that people that I interviewed and the questions that I asked and all of that goes into this content. We've got content, right? Make one thing and turn it into many. So, in your case, the blog content, right, might be the pillar content, right? So maybe you write a blog on the top 5 ways to experience Clear Lake like a local, okay? Could be a 600-word blog. Generally, you want to get a little more than that. Maybe you can get 1,000, 1,200 words in there, okay? And you're going to then tell it, right? This is your pillar content. You're going to turn it into social posts. Maybe it's going to go into become, a key component of your email, your weekly email newsletter. Maybe you're going to have video scripts created for those reels or for TikTok, right? Maybe you're going to, update your business profile, but that one thing is going to turn into many things in here. Okay. One thing turns into many things. And it looks something like this. Your content multiplication prompt. Okay. Take the 600-word blog. Okay. When you're finished with it, simply, you can paste the blog text, but these days you can also just drop a link. It can go out and read. It's going to go read the web. Okay. It's going to go to your website. It's going to read all the content. But I feel sometimes I've gotten better results by actually just copying the content and dropping it in there. Okay. And repurpose it into 5 social captions with hashtags. You can also tell it to generate the images for it. Again, unless you have very specific, beautiful imagery of your property or your, restaurant, you want to upload those, right? You want to turn it into a 150-word email newsletter section, okay? Now, not the whole email, because it could be the primary, generally in a campaign email, there are 3 components, 3 sections. The primary, the most important thing you want to talk about, the secondary, the second most important thing you want to talk about, and the tertiary part, which is the third. So maybe you tell it, I want a 150-word email newsletter. It's in the third, put it in the third part of my email. Okay. So you get very specific with it, or you update your Google profile post with that information, or generate 3 short video script outlines. Again, as we talked about, you can't generate the video unless you want to use Google VO3 and Gemini, but it's not directed around your property. So then in that case, you definitely want to, just get a script and then you may go shoot the reel yourself or do, the TikTok video yourself. But now you've just taken one thing that you spent a lot of time on, and you may have even gone and built that blog in ChatGPT or Claude, and now you turned it into several different things. Okay. This is valuable. Okay. Your time is valuable. Getting this done is the best thing you can do for your business. Okay. Just take yourself back 3 years ago, 4 years ago, before ChatGPT. If you were doing any of this, you weren't repurposing. There's no way, you maybe the concept, you were repurposing, but you weren't taking that video and turning it into a blog post other than just taking the idea and you were having to write itself. It's going to write the content for you. And you are going to be heavily involved in that iteration back and forth with it to make sure that it's spot on, that it's in your voice. Okay. So let's go and put some of this into action. Okay. So let's start with, and I'm going to start with the top here. Let's do that competitor agent setup. Okay. And I'll show you really quickly, but it does take a long time for it to do something. So let's just go here and we'll go to new chat. Okay. And let's close this up here. And then let's put, so a couple things actually. Let me go to settings real quickly. Okay. Something's covering up my settings section here. There we go. I don't know if I can get to it. There we go. So here's a set in the settings. You can also customize GPT. So this is where you put in all of your information, the traits, the tone, straight shooter, witty, etc. You put all that information in here. Also get very specific in here. I don't want emojis if you don't want emojis. Okay. That's where you would do it. All right. Now you can also go into the settings and go to, let's see, personalization, and you can reference saved memories, and that's fine. Okay. But you can also get in here and under the custom, that's my custom instructions. In here, they've moved this thing around. Let's see if they put it into security, multi-factor connectors, personalization, notifications, general. Somewhere in here, is the learning capabilities in here where you tell it. And I thought I had it in here in the custom, but you could just Google that term and, how do I make sure I don't share my content with there? They're always making changes to these, to the platform. So where it was once before, it's not there, but I do remember turning it off. So when we get into a prompt here, okay, and the agent side of things, you click the plus. And again, if you are on the free plan, you are not going to see this, okay? But if you're on this plan, let's go back to our presentation. Let's go up a few slides. Let's get back to, you get to see slides going backwards here. Okay, let's take this competitor analysis. Okay, and I don't have any competitors here to put in. If anybody's got any competitors they want me to track, okay, it keeps wanting to define this. So let me try this. There we go. If anybody has any competitors, put it in the Q&A and I can drop it in there real quickly. Put your business information in there. Okay. All right. So your hospitality marketing analysis each week, review Instagram accounts for so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. All right. Let's just do, I'm just going to do mine. Okay. Might be easier since nobody's volunteering any information in here. Or let me just show you, build a cash flow model, compare states for, all right, we're just going to do something completely different because I don't have any businesses to put in here. And unless you guys are going to drop some in there, unfortunately, I wouldn't know what to make up. Okay. So let's just do this and you can see kind of what it's going to do here. Okay. Just to get the idea here of the agent, okay? It's setting up its desktop. So literally think of it as a computer in the background, okay? And it's gonna go into live mode, okay? It's literally showing you step by step what it's going to do, okay? So imagine your competition, if you had put that information in there, it's gonna go to their social media platform, it's gonna go to all of their different, links that you've put in there, and it's going to study that information and bring it back. Now, this takes time. We're not going to spend time sitting here looking at it, but I want you to get the essence of what this is. This is a desktop in the background. You can leave and go do something else. Okay. That's the whole point of agent, that eventually you are at a place where you've given your agent the specific instructions. And when you say to do it every week, it's going to go and do it every single week. And it will come back, do the same exercise every single week, bring that information back to you. it is quite amazing, I will say, at the end of the day. And what I had it doing last week of taking blogs from my old site and bringing them, putting up in the new site, that was very complex because it had to log into places. It had so many different fields that I was asking it to copy and paste that eventually it did get hung up. Okay. And eventually I did have to have a human being help me out. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is not to displace anybody, is that I wanted to move fast, and I wanted the person who generally helps me with these things to work on more strategic things with me. This is a very mundane task that I was asking it to do. So as you can see, it continues going in live mode, and it's literally doing that work. Okay, let's pop back over to our presentation, okay? And let's talk about social media here, okay? So as a social media manager, okay, let's take this over here to ChatGPT. And again, it's going to work in the background. So I'm off to a new chat. That thing is working. And by the way, if you have the mobile app, you can watch it live on the mobile app, back and forth. You can literally leave, as I did last week when I took my son to soccer, and it was doing its thing. And I checked in from the car. When I got to my destination, I was parked. Then I pulled out my phone and I pulled it up, and I could see it was still working, and it was showing me. And it tells you as it's doing it, goes over and over. It tells you, all right, now I'm doing this. Now I'm doing that. Now I'm doing that. Right now, what we saw was it's simply setting itself up. Okay. All right. So let's get in here. Okay. Act as a social media manager for, let's just go. I'm going to put my business in here for the e-commerce revolution. ecomrevolution.co. So it has the website. I mean, it knows this on me, has all this information. Create a 14-day content calendar. Okay, I'm gonna pull out this part. Highlight e-commerce trends and trends, tips, and news stories. Okay, let's see what it does. Okay, now I know what I'm going to ask it next, because I thought I was going to ask it. If I'm happy with this thing, and again, if you are not happy, let's say I don't like day 2, okay, I'm going to highlight day 2. And let's see, sometimes it's up. Oh, it's still working. When it's done working, where are we at? 11, 12, 14. Okay. When we see that change there, okay. Now, let me tell you this. If I'm not happy with day 2, I'm going to highlight day 2, and you're going to see Ask GPT. Click on that, and now we're just going to talk about day 2. We don't have to talk about all of them. Okay, maybe I'm happy with all of them. I just want to hone in at the moment on day 2. So I'm going to have a conversation with it within the same thread just about day 2 and iterate. Like, you know what? Don't love the, the caption. It's missing a little flavor, whatever it is, back and forth to get it right. Okay. And then ultimately, again, I mentioned I use a tool called Later. You may use Metricool or, whatever it is, but those tools will allow me to upload a spreadsheet. Okay. So when I'm done and let's say I'm happy with all of this, I'm going to say, great. Now put this in spreadsheet format so I can download and then upload to later.com. By telling it later.com, it also is going to make sure it understands the formatting that Later, make sure you understand the upload options for later.com. Okay. All right. Do a little analyzing. And also, by the way, if you needed to do deep research, you can tell it. Okay. You can tell it in this, you can do deep research here, or you can specifically tell it, I need you to do extra research. Okay. So now I've got my CSV file. CSV file is essentially can be uploaded as a spreadsheet in Excel format, et cetera. So most platforms, that's how they take spreadsheets. They take them as CSVs. So I literally click on it and it downloads it, boom, into my inbox, and I can upload it, right? I can also ask it, show me how the spreadsheet looks how, but what, show me what the spreadsheet looks like. Just to make sure it looks right before, that's probably the first thing I would have asked it, okay? So I can expand it, click on that, and I can see all the details, everything here, Instagram post, date, etc., the post type, etc. Now, again, I would have to double check to make sure it understood later.com and it got it right. That's part of your job as a boss, if you will, to make sure that the person who's working for you, in this case, AI, is following the directions correctly. Maybe the first time you spot check it, and then after that, you can let go and not worry so much about it. And then click that, and it brings it back here. Okay, let's jump and take a look at the next one. Okay. All right, so take this 5-star review and repurpose it into something. So I'm going to jump over to Claude. This is my other favorite tool. Okay, I've got it already set up in here. Claude, again, is just another AI tool. I believe, from what I've seen, that Claude does a much better job sometimes of writing. Okay, the tone, it's a little more real. Okay, so here I am now paying for another tool. Now there are what we call consolidation tools, where you can get access to, Claude in there, ChatGPT, ChatGPT-5, Perplexity, all built into one. There are in there, but in this case, I wanted to go directly to the source, and there was a deal going on. You can find $10 off for the first 3 months, 6 months, things like that, deals for all of these platforms. Just, by the way, if you're in one platform, have it go do the research for coupons for you and discount codes. Okay. And actually go and test them. You know how sometimes you get, when you get to check out of a website, you're like, I wonder if there's a discount code or a coupon code out there. You can now use Agent in ChatGPT to go not only find the coupon, because you probably find yourself finding the coupons, and then you got to go test them. Okay. And you tell it to test them, a bunch of them. Okay. To make sure and tell you which one is going to work. Okay. All right. It can add to cart, by the way. It can do all of that. All right, so I've got my 5-star review and repurposed it into a blog snippet, 150 to 200 words, et cetera. And I went ahead and I pasted the actual information in here. And this is using Claude again. And go ahead and click send, creating an artifact. An artifact is essentially a document, right? So this is now your document. And each time you do an update in this chat, it will update and create a new artifact inside the same chat. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Now I could have, this is just a snippet. Could have asked it to write the whole blog. Now, there are other tools out there that do blog creation really well. There's one called Koala, like the koala bear, koala.s as in Sam, H as in Harry, koala.sh. And Koala is meant for blog writing. It's got Claude built into it. It's got ChatGPT built into it, but it's meant for long form blog content. Some of these platforms still get a little hung up on long form content a little bit. They tend to repeat themselves. Okay. So if you find that happening, you may want to look to a program like Koala or Cuppa, CUPPA.ai. Cuppa is another one that does long form content really well. But look at this. I mean, sometimes, even I to this day still get very blown away by what can be done in here. Okay. We've got our Instagram carousel outline. And we can, now I'm not loving the imagery that comes out of Claude, not amazed by it. Again, imagery out of Gemini, and you could easily do the same exact prompt inside of Gemini or inside of ChatGPT. ChatGPT's images are good. They just take a long time to do. Okay. All right. Let's get close to wrapping this up. So, oops, did our email. Okay, reputation, got our calendar, all good there. So make sure we covered all these things. So email marketing. Okay. So write a 3 email sequence. Okay. Again, I'm going to go ahead, since I don't know whose businesses are on this call. I'm just going to go ahead and write my own. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to create a new chat. And by the way, you know, if you're in a situation where you are writing, maybe you're working with clients too. Maybe you have a business where you're doing digital marketing and you're working with clients. I would tend to use temporary chat when I'm mentioning client information or I'm writing content for clients, merely because I don't want it to learn that, you know, I want it to know my stuff, or set it up and say, I'm working with a client on a particular project. Let it know that it's not your content. Otherwise, it may try to learn like, oh, well, I guess Ramin is now into, you know, selling BMX bikes or something like that. I don't know. I mean, we just got to be careful that we don't train it the wrong way. Okay. So let's go ahead and put this in here. Emails, 3 email sequence. I'm just going to go ahead and put my business, promoting for the e-commerce revolution, explaining what the community is all about, and nurturing prospects to joining the community. Okay. And again, it's smart. You don't need to be perfect on your wording. Okay. Even grammar, it understands. Okay. Not nurturing prospects, joining the community, subject line, body. Okay. Boom. Let's go. Let's see what it says. I may just use this. Okay. It's good. Now, remember I mentioned that campaigns have 3 sections generally to them. These automations can also have 3 sections. So be very specific. If you want a 3-section or a 2-section email, whether it's an automated email or it's an email that you're using for campaigns, be very specific. Okay. And now it's going to give you the preview text, the subject line. Again, if I'm not happy, I'm like, hey, you know what? This is really good. This all is good, but I don't love this subject line. Highlight it, use it specifically in the section, and iterate with it directly there. Okay. All right. Almost wrapping up here, folks. So let's get to the content pillar. Okay. My blog post. So, let's see, I can take a blog post of mine that is readily available out there. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Let's take this one. GEO is the new SEO. Okay. So I'm going to take, I'm on a platform called Substack. Some of you may have heard of it. Some parts of Substack are closed that people have to sign up for an email, but so I have to grab a very specific link. So let's take this back over here. Let's do a new chat. Okay. Oops. New chat. Okay. And let me paste this first. Okay. And then let me pop back over here to our presentation. And let me take this, and I'm going to change it because I don't know how many words it is. And it doesn't really matter. You know, you don't need to be specific on it, you know, how many words you have. Okay. So take this blog post, to be general, and repurpose it into, and I'm going to actually take this just so everything is in order. Paste it right there. Let's just see what it does. Okay. Not bad. All right. I think I'll use this. Looks good. All right. So do the same exact thing. Take your business, put the information in there. Okay. Or take a link to a blog you've already written. Okay. You don't have to copy the entire content of the blog. It already understands it. Look at this. Why GEO could be your next big visibility win. I mean, these are things that already has baked in. Okay. And don't hesitate to put this out. But again, read it, okay? And make sure you iterate and make sure you feel like it's your own. And know that, this is a dead giveaway. That's AI, by the way. The M dash or long dash, it tends to do it a lot. I've even told it to stop doing that. So I would say here, I like this, but remove the long dashes. Okay. See, it's going to rewrite that section. Actually, might rewrite everything. Yes, it's going to rewrite everything. Okay. So getting that in there, and I don't know why it continues to do it. I've specifically asked it not to. No, but we don't write. I don't write like that. If you use long dashes, okay, then maybe you're going to be okay with it. But it tends to be known these days that, oh, that's written with AI. I don't know if everything around us is AI is being written, used to write. So I don't think we need to be surprised that people are using AI. Okay. All right. So that is it, folks. That brings us to the end. And let me make sure that I get you all the way to the end. But I wanted you to see, so you'll get the copy of this, okay? And there's a playbook and a 30-day action plan for you guys to take, your hospitality AI marketing playbook kind of built into this, Google profile post, QR code review system, Instagram Reel strategy, just kind of the things that you guys it'll keep you guys honest, on track to keep on working. And I put one in there for restaurants, vacation rentals, hotel and inn. Okay. And then a little bit of a roadmap, kind of keep you honest and keep you, going straight. Week 1, what are you going to do? Week 2, this is geared, if you're not using AI at all, this is a good element to follow. And you can kind of, some examples, success metrics, of what you're looking for. Do you get an email booking conversion? Listen, sometimes you send out an email and it falls flat. It just doesn't resonate, or you're sending it and people don't take action on it until later. The bottom line is with all marketing is you got to be consistent. You can't send out one email once a year and God, it didn't work. You've got to be out there regularly, okay, with new content. And that is what AI is going to help you with. It's going to help you get more clicks. It's going to help you, increase your occupancy, get more people into the restaurant. That is what, we are running businesses, but we are a media company. We are all media companies, and we're always in need of fresh content and consistent content. And that is what AI is helping us do. Okay. If you have any questions, drop them in. You've asked some very good ones so far. And I'll leave it on this slide, and Lillian will be on to tell you a little bit more about Lake County EDC.
Thank you so much, Ramin.
Pleasure.
And yes, thank you everyone for attending today. And we will send out a copy of this recording to your email if you have registered. We'll also put it up on our website for anyone who just kind of dropped in today, or a friend if you want to send it to them. Please reach out to us if we can help you with your business. We do provide free guidance for your businesses with knowledgeable advisors. We can get you signed up for counseling services if you need, and we're just a phone call away.
Sounds good. All right. And thank you, Karen. Thank you, Diana. Appreciate it. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and hopefully just get in there and start using it. And, it'll be amazing to see what it looks like this time next year, right? Maybe I come back and do this presentation and we're now just thinking and AI is doing. Who knows? Who knows where this all goes, right? But it's a fascinating time. So don't get left behind. If you're not using it, jump in, use this presentation as a motivation tool to really get out there. Okay. And thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. All right. Any questions? Anybody? Guess not.
All right, I will stop the recording.